I'm 27 years old now. And for most of my life, I felt like I was standing outside a window, watching someone else's family, wishing I was part of it. I grew up in a house full of people, yet I was always alone. I had two stepsisters I loved deeply, girls I called my sisters in every way that mattered. But they never truly saw me the same way. This is the story of how I became part of a family that wasn't really mine. How I lost them, and how one of them said something that broke me. Before we begin, I want to ask, have you ever felt like you belonged somewhere but deep down weren't sure if others felt the same? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy stories about complicated families, unexpected bonds, and what it really means to be seen, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now let me tell you about Vanessa, the girl who once bullied me. My earliest clear memory goes back to when I was 5. I was standing in the kindergarten playground at Moonrise Elementary, swinging happily, until Vanessa Payton walked up and shoved me off. "That's my swing," she said. She was 7, older, taller, and to 5-year-old me, she seemed unstoppable. I hit the ground hard, scraping my knee. I cried, but when the playground monitor came over, Vanessa had already walked away, pretending nothing happened. That was the first time, but not the last. For that whole school year, Vanessa made my life miserable. She'd accidentally knock my lunch tray to the floor. Tell kids not to play with me because my clothes were weird, secondhand from Goodwill, the only thing my mom could afford. She'd laugh whenever I got something wrong in class. I never understood why she hated me so much. I'd done nothing to her. But Vanessa, the second grader, had decided I was her target, and that was that. My mom, Diane Delves, was a single parent working 2 jobs, waitressing by day, cleaning offices at night. We lived in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, and I slept on the couch. Most nights dinner was just ramen noodles. She was exhausted all the time, worried about bills, worried about me, but she loved me deeply. She'd come home late and still read me a story before I fell asleep. She'd save up just to buy me a coloring book or a candy bar. She really did. I never told her about Vanessa. What could she do? Then one spring afternoon, everything changed. I came home from school to find Mom sitting on the couch, crying but happy crying. "Katie, baby," she said, smiling through tears, "something wonderful happened." She told me she'd met someone, a kind man with a steady job. His name was Tom Payton. Even at 5, I knew what that meant. Maybe no more ramen every night. Maybe Mom could rest. Maybe we'd finally have a real home. "He has 2 daughters," Mom said gently. "About your age, you'll get to meet them soon, you'll have sisters." The word sisters sounded magical to me. I had no idea what was coming. I didn't connect the last name, Payton, until the night Mom took me to dinner at Tom's house. I walked in and froze. There, sitting at the kitchen table, staring at me with pure hatred, was Vanessa. I learned the truth much later, from overheard conversations and bits people let slip. Tom Payton had been married to Patricia Payton. They had 2 daughters, Cynthia, 9, and Vanessa, 7. Their marriage had been falling apart for years. Patricia was unhappy, Tom worked long hours, and they fought constantly. Then Tom met my mom at the diner where she waitressed. They started talking, then seeing each other. When Patricia found out, she was heartbroken and furious. The divorce was messy. When it was finalized, Patricia moved away to Arizona with her sister, leaving Tom with full custody of both girls. They were devastated. They hadn't just lost their mother, they'd lost their sense of home. And in their eyes, it was my mom's fault. Which made it mine too. When Mom and Tom decided to move in together, we packed our few things and moved into his big 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood. To Vanessa and Cynthia, we weren't family, we were intruders. The people who had broken their world. Vanessa made sure I felt it every single day. She'd barely talk to me, and when she did, it was cruel. Cynthia mostly ignored me. Tom tried to be kind, but he didn't know how to handle a little girl who wasn't his. And Mom, she was so busy trying to make her new life work, she didn't always see how lonely I was. I had my own room for the first time, but I'd never felt more alone. At school, things got worse. Vanessa's insults followed me everywhere. "Your mom's a homewrecker," she whispered in the hallway. My mom left because of you. I cried in the bathroom more times than I could count. Then a few months later, something unexpected happened. I was on the playground when a fifth-grade boy, Eric, I think, started teasing me. He pulled my hair, called me names. I was trying to ignore him when, out of nowhere, Vanessa appeared. "Leave her alone," she snapped. Eric laughed. "Or what, you gonna stop me?" "Yeah," she said, "I am." Then she shoved him hard. He stumbled back, shocked. Vanessa stood in front of me, fierce and protective. "She's my sister," she said. "Touch her again and I'll tell the principal you steal lunch money. I've seen you." For the first time, she called me her sister. And I'll never forget how that felt. Eric walked away, still muttering under his breath. I just stood there, stunned. "Why did you do that?" I asked. Vanessa shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "Because you live in my house, that makes you family, sort of." It wasn't exactly a warm declaration of sisterly love, but it was something. And for me, it was enough. After that day, Vanessa stopped bullying me. She didn't suddenly become affectionate or friendly, but she stopped being cruel. More than that, she started defending me. At school, everyone learned quickly: mess with Katie Delves and Vanessa Payton would make your life miserable. I was confused but grateful. At home, things slowly began to change. Vanessa sometimes let me watch TV with her. Cynthia helped me with homework now and then. Tom started asking about my day at dinner. We weren't a close family, but we were functioning. And for a kid who'd grown up poor with an exhausted single mom, even a functional family felt like a gift. Over the next few years, life settled into a rhythm. We were the Brady Bunch, but we made it work. Still, I always felt a quiet difference between us. Cynthia and Vanessa shared a bond I could never reach: years of shared memories and shared loss. I was the outsider, the half-sister who wasn't really a sister. When Mom and Tom got married, I was 7. I remember being the flower girl, while Cynthia and Vanessa were bridesmaids. In the photos, we looked like a perfect blended family. But even then, I knew I was playing a part, not living it. Yet there were moments that felt real. Birthdays, Christmas mornings, family dinners where everyone laughed. Times when I forgot I wasn't quite one of them, when it actually felt like I belonged. Vanessa surprised me the most. She never became warm or openly affectionate, but she was protective. She taught me how to ride a bike. She scared off boys who teased me at school. And when I was 8 and sick with the flu, she brought me soup and sat beside me while cartoons played in the background. "You're okay, kid," she said softly, for a little sister. It was the first time she'd ever called me that, little sister. I held on to those words like a lifeline. When I turned 10, everything began to fall apart. Patricia, Vanessa and Cynthia's mom, got sick. Breast cancer. By the time they found it, it had already spread. Vanessa and Cynthia flew to Arizona to see her. They were gone for a week. When they came back, they weren't the same. Quiet, distant, heartbroken. 3 months later, Patricia died. The funeral was in Arizona. Tom went with his daughters. Mom and I stayed home. "It wouldn't be appropriate," Mom told me gently. "Patricia and there's too much history. The girls need to grieve without me there." I understood, but it hurt. I wanted to be there for Vanessa and Cynthia. But I wasn't really family, not in the way that counted. When they came back, the house felt heavier. Cynthia locked herself in her room for weeks. Vanessa stopped talking altogether. Tom walked around like a ghost. Mom tried to help, but she didn't know how. She wasn't their mother, she was the woman who'd replaced her. And me. I felt invisible. The house was full of people drowning in grief, and I was just trying not to make waves. Things never fully went back to normal after Patricia's death. We still lived together, but the distance between us grew wider. Cynthia became quiet, almost unreachable. Vanessa buried herself in school and sports. Tom started working longer hours. Then when I was 12, Tom began to change. At first, it was little things: forgetting appointments, misplacing his keys, calling me by the wrong name. Then it got worse. He'd look around the house, confused about where he was. Sometimes he'd call me Cynthia, or even Patricia. Mom took him to doctor after doctor. Finally, the diagnosis came: early onset Alzheimer's. He was only 52. The disease moved fast. Within a year, Tom was different, softer, gentler, but lost inside his own mind. He didn't always know who we were. I didn't fully understand what was happening, I was just 12. I thought sick people got better. I thought this was temporary. Then one night when I was 13, I was walking past my mom and Tom's bedroom. He called out to me, "Katie." I froze, he remembered my name. "Yeah," I said softly. He smiled weakly. "Will you miss me?" His question caught me off guard. "Will you?" I asked back, trying to sound light. "Yes," he said quietly, "of course I will." I smiled, uneasy, not sure what to say, then I went to my room. The next morning, I woke to the sound of my mom crying. Tom had passed away in his sleep, peaceful, they said. I was sad, but it felt distant, like losing someone you'd never fully had. Tom had never really been my father. More like a kind landlord who'd let us live in his house. But for Vanessa and Cynthia, the loss was devastating. They'd already lost their mother 3 years earlier. Now their father was gone too. I thought they'd stay with us, where else would they go? Mom was their stepmother, I was their sister. But I was wrong. 2 weeks after the funeral, they sat me down in the living room. "Katie," Cynthia said gently, she was 18 now, officially an adult. Vanessa was 16. "We need to talk." I nodded, uneasy. "We're moving to Arizona," she said, "to live with Aunt Marta, Mom's sister." I stared at them. "What, why?" Vanessa spoke softly. "Because we can't stay here, this house, it's full of ghosts, and your mom." She stopped mid-sentence. "What about my mom?" I asked. Cynthia and Vanessa exchanged a look. "Nothing," Cynthia said quickly, "we just think it's better if we go." "But you're my sisters," I whispered, my voice cracked, "you can't just leave." Vanessa looked away. "We have to, Katie, I'm sorry." 2 weeks later they were gone. I helped them pack. Stood in the driveway as Aunt Marta's car pulled away. Watched until they disappeared down the street, taking the only family I'd ever really known with them. After they left, it was just me and Mom, alone in that big, quiet house. Mom struggled after Tom died, not in ways that others would notice, but I saw it all. The way she'd sit for hours, staring at nothing. The way she'd forget to make dinner. How she'd snap at me over the smallest things, then break down crying, apologizing over and over. She wasn't abusive and she wasn't cruel, she was just gone. Drifting. And I was too young to pull her back. Years later, I found out that Vanessa and Cynthia had talked about staying. They'd considered it, debated it even. But Mom wasn't stable. After Tom died, she slipped deeper into her grief, forgetting groceries, sleeping all day, barely functioning. So they chose to leave. To save themselves. I don't blame them. But that didn't make it hurt any less. I grew up watching my sisters from a distance. First on Facebook, then on Instagram. I watched Vanessa graduate from nursing school, then start her job as an ER nurse. I saw Cynthia post about finishing law school, then joining a big firm. There were pictures of them together on holidays, birthdays, family gatherings, smiles, surrounded by people who'd become their family. And me. I was just a ghost, scrolling through their lives from behind a screen. Sometimes they'd send Christmas cards, short, polite. "Hope you're well, B and C." Sometimes they'd like my posts, a birthday photo, a graduation picture, little digital waves from across a canyon we'd never crossed. But we never talked. Never called. Never saw each other again. I went to college, got a degree in graphic design, built a career. I made friends, dated, tried to build something of my own. But there was always this empty space, a hollow part of me shaped exactly like the sisters I'd lost. Whenever people asked, I never knew what to say. "I have 2 sisters," I'd start. Then I'd pause, "Actually, I guess I'm an only child, sort of." Then one night when I was 27, I got a Facebook message. It was from Vanessa. "Katie, I know we haven't talked in a long time and I know I don't have the right to ask this, but I'll be in Chicago next weekend for a nursing conference. Would you want to meet for coffee? There are things I need to say, things I should have said years ago." V. I stared at that message for 3 days. Read it over and over. Tried to decide if seeing her would heal something or just reopen old wounds. Finally I replied, Okay, Saturday at 2, there's a coffee shop on Hawthorne. She wrote back almost instantly. I'll be there. Saturday at 2 p.m., I walked into the cafe, my heart pounding. Vanessa was already there, sitting at a corner table. She was 29 now, her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked older, tired, but still strong. Still that fierce girl who once stood up for me on a playground. She stood when she saw me. Katie, she said softly. Hi. We hugged, awkward, uncertain, then sat down. For a few minutes we made small talk. Her job, my job, the weather, safe topics to fill the silence. Then Vanessa set her coffee cup down and looked straight at me. Katie, I need to apologize, she said quietly. I need to explain, and I need you to know that I've thought about you every single day since we left. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. When Cynthia and I moved to Arizona, we told ourselves it was for the best, that staying with your mom and with Diane wasn't healthy, that we needed space to grieve, and those things were true, but they weren't the whole truth. We were 18 and 15, we just lost both of our parents. We didn't know how to take care of ourselves, let alone help raise a 13-year-old. So we left. And in doing that, we left you. I shook my head. You didn't leave me, I said quietly. You left my mom. No, Katie, she said, her voice breaking. We left you because you were part of that house, part of the life we were trying to escape, and that wasn't fair. You didn't ask for any of it. You were 5 years old when our dad met your mom, just a kid who wanted to belong, and I made you feel like you didn't. My throat tightened. I always felt like that, I whispered, like I was watching your family from outside a window. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I know, and I'm so sorry because Katie, you were my sister, you are my sister. I was angry at my mom for leaving, at my dad for cheating, at your mom for existing. And I took all that out on you, a little girl who just wanted to be loved. You stopped bullying me, I said softly, you protected me. I did, she nodded, but I never made you feel like you truly belonged. I never told you that I loved you. I should have. Her voice broke. When Dad died and we left, I told myself it was the right thing, but Katie, for 15 years I've been haunted by the image of you standing in that driveway watching us leave. You were 13, you just lost the only father figure you ever had, and we abandoned you. By then I was crying too. I thought you didn't want me, I said. I thought I was never really your sister. Vanessa squeezed my hand. You were always my sister, she said firmly. I just didn't know how to show you. I was drowning in grief and I made the wrong choice, and then too much time passed. It felt too late to reach out. I convinced myself you moved on, that you didn't think about us anymore. I never stopped thinking about you, I whispered, either of you. I checked your Facebook all the time, I admitted. I saw your life, I wished I was part of it. Vanessa reached across the table, her hand trembling as she took mine. I'm so sorry, she said, for everything, for bullying you when we were kids, for never making you feel like family, for leaving you, for the 15 years of silence. I can't get those years back, but if you'll let me, I want to try now. I want to be your sister, really be your sister. Why now? I asked quietly. Vanessa's voice softened. Because I have a son. She paused, eyes shining. And when I look at him, at the way he loves so freely, I realize what I lost, what we lost. I don't want him growing up without knowing his aunt. I don't want him to ever think love has an expiration date. I covered my mouth, trying not to sob. She squeezed my hand tighter. I can't fix the past, Katie, she whispered, but I want to build a future if you'll let me. And in that moment, for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was outside the window anymore. I felt like I was finally being let in. When Vanessa told me she had a son, 5 years old, the same age I was when I first moved into their house, something shifted. Her voice trembled as she said, every time I look at him, I think about you, Katie. How small you were. How scared you must have been, moving into a home where 2 girls hated you. And how alone you must have felt. She paused, eyes glistening. And I think about how I treated you. I'm ashamed. I can't carry that guilt anymore. I had to make it right. I squeezed her hand. I don't hate you, I whispered. You should, she said softly. But I don't, Vanessa. I just wanted you to see me, to call me your sister. That's all I ever wanted. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. I see you, Katie, I've always seen you, I was just too broken to admit it. We sat there in that little coffee shop, two sisters crying, trying to find their way back after 15 years of silence. Does Cynthia feel the same way? I asked. Yes, Vanessa nodded. She wanted to come today, but she's in New York for work. Katie, she thinks about you too, we both do, we talk about you, about how we failed you. You didn't fail me, I said. We did, she whispered, but maybe we can do better now if you'll let us. I smiled through tears. I want that, I've always wanted that. Vanessa took a deep breath, smiled back and said, then let's start over. Hi, I'm Vanessa and you're my little sister, Katie. Those words, little sister, the ones I'd waited 15 years to hear. I laughed, wiping my eyes. Hi, I'm Katie, your little sister. 6 months later, I flew to Arizona to visit Vanessa and Cynthia. It was awkward at first, 15 years of distance doesn't vanish overnight. But we tried. We talked about everything, about Dad, about Patricia, about Mom, about how broken our blended family had been and how we were all just kids trying to survive it. Cynthia cried as she said, I was the oldest, I should have made sure you knew you belonged. We were all just kids, I told her, we did the best we could. We looked through old photos, birthdays, Christmases, random dinners. In those pictures, we looked like a family. And maybe, for a while, we really were. Vanessa introduced me to her son, Leo. Leo, this is your Aunt Katie, my little sister. He blinked at me with wide eyes. Little sister. Vanessa smiled. Yes, I've had one for a long time, I just forgot to tell everyone. Leo grinned. I want a little sister. We all burst out laughing. That night, the three of us sat on the porch until 2 a.m., talking, crying, remembering. This doesn't fix everything, Cynthia said. We lost a lot of years. No, I said, but maybe we can build something new. I'd like that, Vanessa whispered, wrapping her arm around me. I'd really like that, little sister. And for the first time in my life, I truly felt like I belonged. It's been 2 years since that day in the coffee shop. Vanessa and I text all the time now. Cynthia and I video call every few weeks. They came to Chicago for my birthday. I've been to Arizona 3 times. There's still hurt, some things you can't erase, but we're trying. We're showing up for each other in ways we never did before. Last month, Vanessa posted a photo of the three of us on Instagram. The caption said, My sisters, better late than never. I commented, love you both. She replied, love you too, little sister. I'm 29 now. I spent most of my life feeling like an outsider in my own family. But I've learned that family isn't about perfection. It's about coming back. It's about saying I'm sorry. It's about choosing each other, even after years of distance. Vanessa bullied me when I was 5. Then she protected me. Then she left. And 15 years later, she came back. And called me little sister. And that's all I ever wanted.